What's going on, you guys? Today we're going to be learning the song Out of the Black by Royal Blood. Real quick, before we get into it, I would like to ask that if you find this guitar tutorial helpful, that you please consider subscribing. That would really mean the world to me. Now let's get into it. You are watching Logan's Lessons. Okay, first thing I want to mention is that our guitar is needing to be in drop D tuning. Once you get that sucker tuned up, we're going to learn this main riff. We start with the low E string, and we're going to want to mute it. I'm using my middle finger here to mute the string. We just want it to be very staccato and punchy. We then take our third finger and hit the 8th fret of our A string. And this one we're going to strum down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay? Like that. Do that with me. Then we hit the low E string again, hit the A string, low E one more time. So we have like a... Do that with me. One more time. Okay, so that is like riff A. I would think of that as riff A. Now that last note, the low E string, I would think of that as the beginning of the part B. So I'll show you part B. So starting here, right on that last note, we then hit the A string again, just the same as we did on the first on part A. Hit the low E string, and then we hit the A string 4 times this time. Then the low E. So we have like a... Like that. Do that with me. So the whole thing all together will sound like this. Then that last low E string there, I would think of that as the beginning of part A again. So we starting on that note, and then we do part B again. Like that. Okay, so the whole thing so far, this is like the first half of the intro, if you will. Do that with me. Then the second half of this intro is basically the same thing as what we just did. We just let it loose and make it less staccato. We just let the notes ring out. Until that part. And that's just... We do part A, part B, part A, part B, and this is like a part C really quick at the end. So playing that part B there at the end of that, we have... And then we just have this like syncopated thing where we hit before going into the verse. So that part B to part C thing at the end of the intro there, to transition us into the verse, will sound like this. Like that. Do that with me. Now, the entire intro will sound like this. Do that with me. So that gets us into the verse, which is actually pretty simple. So in the verse, we're just doubling the bass line. And what we're going to do that is just the low E string. And this is all palm muted, by the way. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Then we come to the 7th fret of our low E, to the 5th, to the 3rd. You do that 3 times. Then the 4th time through, we change it up a bit. We go from the low E string to the 7th fret, to the 8th fret, to the 2nd. And that gets you into the chorus. Now the chorus is also not that difficult. We're going to start with the low E string 4 times. Down, up, down, up. Now the trick here is to mute all of the other strings so you don't have these ringing out. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to come up here so that our 3rd finger is on the 12th fret of our D string, and our 1st finger is on the 10th fret of the G. We're going to strum that up, down, up, and you're going to want to mute the B and the high E with your index finger, and the low E with your middle, the low E and the A with your middle finger there, so that no strings are ringing out but the D and the G, and you can kind of just strum this, and those are the only 2 strings that ring out. So you have... You do it twice like that. Down, up, down, up. And then this is the 2nd half. We go down to the 3rd fret of the low E string with our index finger. Do down, up. Hit the 5th fret of our A string with either your 3rd finger or your pinky, whatever is most comfortable for you. And you do a down, up there, down, up there as well. And then we do the same thing, 2nd fret and 4th. Like that. So we have... The entire riff will sound like this. Cool. So that drops you into an instrumental between the chorus and the 2nd verse. That instrumental, you're going to play the same thing you did the 4th time through on the verse. You're going to play this. But that time, we do it down, up, and then you take the 5th fret of your D string and you bend it up. So you have like a... So that leads you back into the verse, which is the same as the 1st verse, but then we get like this pre-chorus riff kind of thing that happens before the 2nd chorus. That starts on the 3rd fret of your low E string. And then you hit the 5th fret of your A string twice, down, up, and then you hit the 3rd fret of your D string twice. Like that. Do that with me. Then we hit the 2nd fret of our low E string. Down, up. Hit the 4th fret of your A string twice. And then the 5th fret of your D. Like this. And you do that twice. That leads you back into the chorus. So then after that 2nd chorus, we go back to the main riff. And that goes until the end of the main riff, just like we did it in the intro. And here we play that pre-chorus thing again, but we make one slight adjustment. Which I think is so cool. So... all of that is the same, but right there what we do is we hit the 2nd fret of your G string, open G, 3rd fret of your D, 2nd fret of your D. Like that. So we have... Do that with me slowly. And that leads you right back into the chorus. Like that. Okay, so that last chorus there, we just make one slight adjustment. The first time through, it stays the same for the riff. The second time through, it changes. We have the same. And then right here, what we do is we, which is bending up the 12th fret of your G string. pulling off to the 10th fret, hitting the 12th fret of your D. Like that. I just hammer onto that 12th fret of my D string. So you have like a... And then everything else after that stays the same. And so then after that final chorus, we have a bridge. The bridge starts on the 1st fret of your A string. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Go to the 2nd fret of your low E. To the low E. 3rd fret. Do that with me so far? Now the second line starts on the 1st fret of your A string again, to the 2nd fret of your low E. These two notes change. We go up to the 5th fret of your A, to the 3rd fret. So far we have. And then you go to the first piece again. And then we just do 1st fret, 2nd fret, like that. So the entire bridge will sound like this. And that lands us in this like crazy outro section, which is really fun when you can pull it off. You start on the 5th fret of your A string. Everything's just going to be picked down, up. Down, up. You hit the 3rd fret of your low E. So you then slide that up to the 7th fret of your low E. Do that with me. Then hit the low E open. So we have. I'll do that slow. Do that with me. Cool, one more time. Then we hit the 1st fret of your A string to the 3rd fret of your low E. So we have. Okay? Then we hit the 3rd fret of your D string to the 4th fret of your A. So we have. Again. One more time. Then here we have this thing where we hit the 5th fret of our low E string with our 3rd finger to the 5th fret of our A string with our pinky. So hit the 3rd fret of our low E string to the 5th of our A. So then we do the same thing on the 2nd fret. Okay. Hit the 5th fret of our A string to the low E string. So we have. If I do that slowly. Faster now. Okay, and that keeps going. Like I think it happens 4 times, and then what happens is once you go through this, you hit the 5th fret of your A string, like that. And that repeats. And then, so after you've done that twice, you then go to this. That first little piece of that, the 5th fret, to the 3rd fret. and you do that twice. So you have. So far, that little last piece will sound like this. So you have like a. And then you have this like 5th fret of your low E to 3rd fret of your low E. Like that. Okay, and you hit the 8th fret of your A string. Like that. And that's how the song ends. So, so that entire bridge will sound like this. I'll play it for you. My friends, is how you play Out of the Black. If you have a song request, comment it. If you wish to be notified of future videos, hit the bell. I sincerely hope that you're well. Please do me a favor and hit that like button in blue. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe too. I hope this video has been a blessing. You've been watching Logan's Lessons.